Due to family pressure, I ended up marrying my longtime rival, who, like me, is also an alpha. Because my susceptibility phase arrived earlier than expected, he pinned me down for 2 straight days and nights. Then I stared dumbfounded at the 2 bright red lines on the test strip. I remembered Cameron once said he hated kids, and found same-sex relationships disgusting, so I bought a plane ticket behind everyone's back. On the way to the airport, my friends suddenly slammed on the brakes. I looked up and saw a familiar black Maybach aggressively blocking the road. Cameron got out of the car, holding a medical report in his hand, his smile cold and sharp. "Where are you going? Planning to elope?" 1. I got out of Cameron's bed, sore all over. The heavy scent of pheromones in the room made it hard to open my eyes. My legs still weak. I stumbled over scattered clothes on the floor as I tried to open the window, covering my eyes. I couldn't bring myself to face reality. After a quick tidy-up of Cameron's bedroom, I finally noticed something off about my body. Damn it, that bastard. It's bad enough he touched me while I was in early susceptibility, but seriously, he didn't even use protection. The culprit was still fast asleep under the covers. I hovered my fist over his face for a long time before finally letting it drop. Couldn't do it. He was just too good-looking. When he's asleep, he actually looks kind of well-behaved. I returned to my room and dove straight into the bathroom for a shower. I scrubbed and scrubbed, but that sticky feeling wouldn't go away. I felt a little feverish last night, so I went to look for the first aid kit in the living room. My temperature read 37.8 degrees Celsius, not exactly a fever, but my head was spinning. Maybe it was because my susceptibility phase had arrived early. I leaned on the sofa and slowly drifted off. Suddenly, the front door beeped. Before I could say a word, someone pushed me down, and a scorching hot kiss crashed onto my lips. The taste of alcohol mixed with a faint metallic tang filled the air. "Cameron, are you insane?" I slapped him across the face, but instead of backing off, he only got rougher. When we both differentiated into alphas back then, he blocked me on every possible contact. Later, we signed a marriage agreement and spent 2 years pretending each other didn't exist. So this was the first time I ever caught a whiff of his pheromones. Bitter, not pleasant. Tears welled up in my eyes, and my own pheromones started leaking uncontrollably. I thought once he picked up the scent, it would snap him out of it. After all, alphas are supposed to reject each other's pheromones. But it didn't stop him. He just pinned me down and dragged me into his bedroom. The moment I hit the bed, all I saw were his bloodshot eyes. 2. After my shower, I collapsed onto the bed and passed out. It was the housekeeper who eventually woke me up. Thankfully, she had taken the day off to visit her hometown. Otherwise, she would have witnessed everything that happened last night. She brought me some food and asked if I was running a fever. I checked my reflection. The blush on my face hadn't faded. Embarrassed, I handed the mirror back and brushed her off with a few vague words. Thinking of the guy on the other side of the wall, I asked, "Where's Cameron?" "Housekeeper, he's still asleep. He must have been working non-stop the past few days. His assistant dropped by earlier." "Still asleep? So he really wore himself out? Guess he's not all that after all. I'm still up and walking just fine." I gulped down a few spoonfuls of lean pork porridge and asked the housekeeper to leave. I wanted to lie down a bit more. She agreed and turned to go, but just as she reached the door, a pale hand with well-defined knuckles pushed it open. "You're awake." I instantly dove under the covers and held my breath. "Bennett just had some porridge." "Okay, I'll step out." Their voices faded. My heartbeat spiked. Footsteps grew closer. The last person I wanted to see was now standing at my bedside. Bennett. His voice was hoarse and nasal. I didn't move. Then suddenly, he yanked the covers off me like ripping away a safe zone. Our eyes met. Cameron clearly hadn't slept well. There were dark circles under his eyes. Most noticeable was the red handprint on his cheek, and the bruises on his arm. I'd given him those last night. "What do you want?" 3. Already in a bad mood. His rough behavior made it worse. He didn't respond, just stared at me like he was about to devour me whole. Thankfully, my pajamas had long sleeves. Otherwise, I'd have no way to explain the bite marks. After a long, heavy silence, he finally said, "Last night, you were in my room, right?" "No kidding. If I wasn't in your room, who else were you doing?" I nodded, then suddenly froze. Wait, could it be Cameron doesn't remember what happened? My brain was a total mess when he suddenly gripped my shoulders. "So you and I." His grip was far from gentle. It hurt enough to make me wince. "Yeah, we fought. I won. You want revenge now?" "Fought?" I backed away, eyeing him warily. "This mark on your face, that's from me. Doesn't it hurt?" When alphas get emotional, their pheromones can leak uncontrollably. Now the room was full of that same scent I smelled last night. It made me nauseous. Cameron pulled his hand back and kept repeating, "So, it was just a fight?" His eyes were so dark they looked endless. It was scary, and I couldn't meet his gaze. I turned my face away and covered my nose and mouth. "Just leave. I can't even breathe with you here." The heavens hadn't abandoned me after all, even though I had, by some terrible twist of fate, slept with my mortal enemy. At least he didn't remember it. Only the heavens, the earth, and I knew. Otherwise, the 2 years of hard-earned peace we'd maintained would have gone straight down the drain. 4. Cameron didn't come home for 3 straight days. When we finally saw each other again, it was like nothing had changed. We did our own things and treated each other like we didn't exist. I'd already lived like this for 2 years, thinking we'd waited out a few more before divorcing when the timing was right. But can someone please tell me what those 2 bright red lines mean? I'm seriously losing it. Alphas can get pregnant. If I'd known that, I wouldn't have bought that test. No matter how nauseous I was, at least I could have lived in denial a few more days. I grew up pretty much on my own, barely paid attention in sex ed. After I differentiated into an alpha, I did have a few basic physiology classes, but no one ever mentioned that alphas could get pregnant. I stared at those 2 test sticks for a long time before tossing them in the trash. At 10 p.m. sharp, I heard noise at the door. Wiping my hands, I stepped out from the kitchen. "Housekeeper, just make something aside." Cameron froze mid-sentence when he saw me. I glanced at his tired face and crooked my finger. "Come here." I turned to get the porridge. By the time I came back, he'd already washed his hands and was quietly seated at the table. Cameron took the bowl, avoiding my gaze. A second later, he frowned. "Seafood porridge? Aren't you allergic to shellfish?" He said it so naturally. I replied just as naturally, "Well, you're the one who likes." I cut myself off halfway. Weird, that sounded way too much like a couple. "Oh, right, we technically are one." 5. This time, he didn't avoid looking at me. His eyes were locked straight on mine, trying to act normal. I coughed and told him to hurry up and eat. By the time he finished his porridge, slowly and elegantly, I was about to fall asleep from waiting. "Has he always eaten this slowly?" "If you're tired, go sleep," he said. I rubbed my temples and braced myself. "No, I have something to say to you." My voice came out hoarse. He reached out to feel my forehead, but I instinctively flinched. The air immediately turned cold. He stood up, looking down at me. "If you're sick, go to the hospital." Before I could say another word, he added with a half-smile, "I really don't know what could possibly be so important that you waited up for me this late. If it's about work, I've already handed everything over to the chairman." "Work? What work?" Seeing him turn to leave, I stood up quickly. "Cameron," but I'd been sitting too long, and I was nervous. My vision went black. Strong arms caught me just in time. That bitter scent hit me right away. His breathing quickened, and I felt the body pressed against mine tense up. Eyes still closed, I let him guide me to the bed and help me drink some water. I tried to speak again, but Cameron covered my mouth. His other arm wrapped tightly around my waist, preventing me from turning to face him. Aside from that night, we hadn't been this close in years. Well, there was that one kiss from a party game, but that didn't count. I heard him sigh. "Don't say it. I know you don't care about the company." He sounded like he was forcing the words out. "So just, don't." His pheromones were getting stronger. Maybe it was because of the pregnancy, but this time I didn't find his scent suffocating. Actually, it felt comforting. I placed a hand on my still flat stomach and whispered, "I'm tired." After Cameron left, I opened my phone. My grandfather had messaged me earlier that afternoon. I didn't even need to read it. I already knew what he'd said. The usual, "Get along with Cameron. The family business depends on him." I'd heard it 100 times before. 6. The next afternoon, I went to the hospital with a friend. When the doctor found out I was pregnant, he became very curious and started bombarding me with questions. Alpha pregnancies are rare, but not impossible. There have been quite a few documented cases, both domestic and international. He gave me a once-over. "But you're the first one in our hospital. I'm here to schedule a termination." "What? You're not keeping it?" His excitement deflated instantly. He started typing while muttering under his breath. "You young people never take proper precautions. Now you're pregnant and want to end it. Do you have any idea how damaging that is to your body?" I had warned my friend ahead of time. He's also an alpha. When the doctor misunderstood, he didn't correct him, afraid he'd say the wrong thing. "He's not my partner." The doctor's reaction was even stronger. "Your partner didn't even come with you to the hospital? We had a fight." He shook his head and sat back down. "Well, I suggest you go to the capital for the procedure if you can. We don't have experience handling alpha pregnancies here. I thought for a moment. Alright, then I'll schedule you for the end of next month. In the meantime, avoid spicy food and alcohol. Outside, red-faced, I said a few words to my friend, Bennett. My heart jumped. I told my friend to go ahead. When I turned around, Cameron was standing not far away, a patch of red on his suit. What happened? Are you hurt? He shook his head. Ran into a pregnant woman who was bleeding badly. Her husband's car broke down, so I helped out. I let out a breath of relief and joked, playing the hero. Ha, not bad. Cameron stared silently at me. I pointed randomly and said, came with someone else. You heading home? Need to change clothes? Thanks to my flawless acting, he didn't question it. He got in the car with me. 7. After that day, things between us got slightly better. He started coming home earlier, and we even had a few dinners together. Today the housekeeper tried out some new dishes, and the whole place smelled amazing. At first, I enjoyed it. I had a few big spoonfuls of soup and was feeling pretty good. Then, out of nowhere, nausea punched me in the chest. I covered my mouth and rushed to the bathroom to gag. Hearing footsteps behind me, I raised a hand. Don't, I'm fine. But Cameron didn't leave. He stepped forward and steadied me. Nothing really came out, but I looked up at him and said, just go. Let me breathe. He still didn't move. I had to push him away before he finally left. I stood at the sink rinsing my mouth, noticing how red my eyes were. Out at the table, the housekeeper was poking at the dishes. Must be that new recipe. Bennett didn't take well to it. We won't make it again. She's been vomiting a lot these days. Barely ate anything this morning. The door wasn't closed, and I could hear every word. It made me gag again. She's throwing up like she's pregnant. The housekeeper added. She walked over kindly. Bennett, did you take your meds today? I didn't just throw up. I nearly passed out, and it had only been a couple times over the past few days. I just wasn't hungry this morning. Can she please stop talking? But then, Cameron's voice rang out, loud and clear. Bennett, I remember you've never had stomach problems. Of course I didn't. I've been strong since I was a kid. Maybe it's because my parents died in a car crash when I was 5. No one looked after me. If I got sick, no one would even notice. Cameron, on the other hand, was always the sickly one, allergic to this, sensitive to that, always smelled like Chinese medicine. The first time I went to his place, I had to climb over the wall into his yard. I used to brag to him about how strong and healthy I was. I splashed my face with cold water, then turned back and pretended to be calm. Getting older, I guess. Don't look at me like that. With how hard you work every day, you'll probably start breaking down soon too. Cameron stared at me as I sat back down and shoveled down 2 more bowls of rice. I felt like I was sitting on pins and needles, just wanted to finish fast and get out. 8. That night, I dreamed again. At first, it was all jumbled and I forgot most of it, but then it became clear, because Cameron was there. In the dream, he looked like a teenager, wearing his school uniform jacket. Bennett, the doctor said I'm about to differentiate. What gender do you think I'll become? Aren't the chances the same? Every gender's fine. He rested his head on his hand, his cheeks squished softly together. I handed him a piece of gum, and he opened his mouth to take it. That soft touch lingered on my fingertips for a moment, then vanished. Young Cameron still looked unhappy, his feelings written all over his face. He grabbed my hand and said seriously, Bennett. I leaned in until I could hear his breath. Promise me, no matter what gender we become, you'll still be good to me. The dream cut off right there. I still remember my answer clearly. I said, we'll be lifelong friends. But he didn't relax his furrowed brow, didn't nod, didn't say okay. Was he not satisfied? That was the best promise I could give at the time. Why was he still unhappy? Why did he stop talking to me after we differentiated? Why did he ask me? What answer did he want? Suddenly, my temples started hurting. I rubbed my head and wiped my face, only then realizing my cheeks were wet with tears. 9. Soon it was a holiday. As usual, the family gathered for a meal, and I went too. It was a habit we'd formed after Cameron and I got married. Before that, I always spent holidays alone. My grandfather had many descendants. Missing me wasn't a problem. I was scared something might happen at dinner, so I even took some anti-nausea pills before going. At the table, I sat next to Cameron, head down, eating quietly. Cameron's aunt brought over a baby, teasing. Babies are adorable at this age. Once they start talking, they get annoying. It was Cameron's cousin's son, born last year. We'd visited him in the hospital. The baby reached his chubby hand toward me, finding it amusing. I took his hand. He wants you to hold him. Come on, Bennett, the aunt said with a smile, carefully placing the baby in my arms. The softness in my arms was incredible. I'd held babies before, but watching him hum and reach around made my heart melt. Maybe because there was a little life growing in me too. Seeing how happy I was soothing the baby, the aunt turned to Cameron's father. He's a good baby, but won't sleep at night, keeps everyone up. Listening to them chat, I looked over at Cameron sitting beside me, and noticed his gaze fixed on me. Want to hold him? I offered the child to Cameron, just as I put the baby in his arms. The conversation shifted to kids. He sighed. I've wanted grandchildren for a long time. The aunt interrupted quietly. What are you saying? How could two alphas have kids? Though they tried to keep their voices low, we were close enough to hear everything. I felt awkward and placed a hand over my belly. 10. Cameron's voice came from beside me. Dad, I told you before I don't want kids. His dad hurried to say, your health's recovered, but can you really go back to how you were before? Realizing he'd said too much, he got up to fetch a drink and left the living room. The mood after that wasn't as good as before, but luckily Cameron's cousin and her wife were chatty enough to keep things from falling silent. On the way back, I sat in the passenger seat, nearly asleep. Don't overthink it. Dad wasn't pressuring you. I closed my eyes and nodded. I wasn't able to have kids anyway. I don't like children, and I never will want any. Quietly, I opened my eyes and glanced at him. Outside, the colorful lights flickered, blurring his profile. I gave a faint smirk. Is that so? Ignoring what he said next, I let myself fall into a deep sleep. When I woke, I was in my room, already changed out of my clothes, checking my phone. 1:30 a.m. After a while, I called the doctor from before. Yes, can you arrange the earliest surgery? I'll buy the ticket immediately. It's urgent. Okay, thank you, doctor. After he helped set it up, I bought a ticket for 3 days later. My first trip to the capital was for an abortion. 11. My friend drove me to the airport. In the car, he tried to comfort me. It's okay, Bennett. The doctor said it's a minor procedure. If you're scared, I'll go with you. I rolled my eyes. Yeah, right. Quit your job for me. After a few bickering words, I felt a bit better. Looking at myself in the mirror, pale and worn out, dark circles under my eyes. I blamed Cameron. If not for him, I wouldn't be suffering like this. I irritably grabbed my hair and leaned back. Suddenly, my friend slammed on the brakes. He reached out to steady me, cursing as he unclipped his seatbelt. I patted my chest and looked forward. A familiar car was parked crookedly not far ahead. I quickly grabbed my friend's arm. Don't get out. I'll handle this. The door of the car swung open. Cameron stepped out in a suit, hair a little messy. Sweat poured down my face. I had no idea why he was here. You. My words caught in my throat. I watched him pull out a medical report, his smile terrifying. Where do you think you're going? Running away with your lover? At that moment, I felt the world collapse. Who leaked the news? Dizzy. I staggered. Cameron grabbed my wrist hard enough to hurt. Come back with me first. When he spoke, I dared not refuse. I just gave my friend a look and followed Cameron to the car. On the way, neither of us spoke. My head was a mess. 12. Was it him? Cameron suddenly broke the silence. I was stunned for a moment, then shook my head. His face darkened even more. Someone else. I get it. Was it Gavin? You've met him. Gavin? Yeah, we'd met. After high school, he went straight to study in California, but came back a few times a year for group dinners. Why drag him into this? As I thought about it, Cameron's cold voice came again. Well, old flames meeting up. There's plenty of stories about rekindled feelings. Hearing his nonsense, I snapped. Are you sick? Stop spreading rumors. Where's the lie? In high school, I saw him spinning you around. His sudden loudness startled me. That was just joking around. No, wait, he had cut me off in high school. How would he even know about Gavin? Holding back my anger, I said, he's been abroad for 7 years. Can you stop talking nonsense? Yeah, and if he hadn't left the country, you wouldn't have married me 3 years ago. There it was again, 3 years ago. And marriage. I unbuckled my seatbelt and shouted, stop the car. 13. Cameron took a deep breath and pulled the car over to the side of the road. Caught off guard, I raised my hand and slapped him hard. I didn't hold back, and even my palm tingled a little afterward. Cameron, I'll say it again, our marriage was decided by my grandfather and your parents, not me forcing you. You had options, an out, a choice, but I didn't, so why take it out on me? After shouting those 2 sentences, I gasped for breath, and then noticed blood dripping from the corner of Cameron's mouth. I froze. He wiped the blood away, his gaze sharp and cold. So, is it him? You don't want to marry me because you like him. Ha! How lovely, pregnant with his child. I was furious, my ears buzzing so much I barely heard the rest. He kept talking, lips moving, every word stoking the fire inside me. Those lips once whispered the sweetest things to me in our youth. They once kissed me as a punishment in a game. Later, one night stands burned, hurt, and pleased me. I hated those lips with all my heart. Stop talking. I grabbed Cameron's collar, pulled him close, and bit his lips. 14. The metallic taste of blood filled our mouths, but I felt relief, sucking and biting harder, until I tasted bitterness. Cameron was crying. Silent tears ran freely down his cheeks. I was at a loss. Did I hurt you? He shook his tear-filled eyes. No, I'd never comforted someone crying before, just went by instinct. I won't hit you anymore, won't bite you, okay, don't cry. The sobbing stopped for a few seconds, then he unclipped his seatbelt, leaned over, and slammed me against the car door. His damp cheek pressed against mine as he took my lips, invading me completely. It was so different from my earlier biting, gentle, yet deep, making me tremble. We kissed back and forth in the car until our lips were swollen and unrecognizable. Cameron grabbed a tissue and wiped drool from my chin before trying to clean his own tear-streaked face. I sighed. It's just a slap. What's there to cry about? You cheated on me, then yelled at me. He glared. You're having another man's child, shouldn't I cry? It's not like I can't keep it, but I'll raise the kid, and you're not allowed to contact Gavin anymore. Surprised, I said. I thought you didn't like kids. Cameron ground his teeth. If I don't keep the child, you'll run away with that bastard. 15. What an idiot. Who talks to themselves like that? Speechless for a moment, I teased. So magnanimous. He shook his head fiercely, refusing to look at me. Too bad for you, you're disappointed. That child is yours. Cameron froze, like an old robot, his eyes filled with disbelief. I frowned. Don't believe me, it was 2 months ago. The night we fought late at night, you probably don't remember. July 18th. He said the exact date without hesitation. What a memory. I nodded with my eyes closed. After a long silence, Cameron said urgently, someone drugged me that night. I was already out of it on the way home. It's not that I'm pretending not to remember. I snapped my eyes open. Someone tried to get into my bed, but I came home. You know that. Good. Self-control. Thumbs up. After a pause, I continued. Don't worry. I'm going to the capital just to have an abortion. The surgery's already scheduled. My arm was gripped tightly. Cameron breathed sharply. Abort the baby? Why didn't you tell me? Seeing him accuse me first, I snapped. I did. I made porridge that day and wanted to confess. You told me not to say anything. He was stunned. That day, you wanted to say that? 16. I thought. Thought what? Cameron stammered. I thought you wanted a divorce. Art really does imitate life. I finally understood where those nail-biting drama plots come from. I pushed him. Why couldn't you just ask me? He turned it back on me. Then why couldn't you just say it? I quickly waved him off. Stop. Enough. It was getting more and more like a cheesy romance movie. Cameron reached out and placed his hand on my belly, then looked up at me, eyes sparkling. I brushed his hand away, but he clung to me like a kid, hugging me again. Don't torment me, he whispered. I'm not, I'm just hugging you, and the baby. I said nothing. Cameron hurried on. I was lying before. I don't hate kids. I'm not annoyed by alphas. Really, it's all my fault. I kept my cold face. If you're only nice to me because of the baby, then don't bother. When have I ever been anything but nice to you? Since I differentiated at 16, years of resentment flooded me. Just as I was about to confront him, Cameron buried his head in my neck. Sorry, it's all my fault. Over and over, only those words. 17. Hey, why aren't you coming out to play? I grabbed the iron gate with both hands and stretched my head inside. The kid, half a head shorter than me, looked a bit scared and took a step back. Then I'm leaving. As soon as I said that, he panicked and chased after me a few steps. You can't leave the yard. I laughed without a care. Wait for me. Looking at the height of the wall, I grabbed a nearby tree and climbed up, struggling to get over. With a loud thud, I landed. He ran over and squatted next to me, smelling strongly of Chinese herbs, breathing a little hard. What's that noise? A middle-aged woman in an apron came quickly out of the house, eyes wide. Is he your friend? After a few seconds of silence, he nodded. Yes, we're playing. The woman gave a few instructions and returned to the kitchen, leaving us staring at each other. I sat up, dusted off my clothes, and said, I'm Bennett. What's your name? Cameron. And so we sat quietly, looking at each other, for another half hour. I stood up. I'm going now, Cameron hummed, then asked, will you come play with me again? Okay, I'll sneak over again next time. No. I looked at him. Ha, climbing the wall is dangerous. I'll open the door for you. He pulled out a bunch of keys from his pocket. I was speechless. Then why didn't you open the door before? I didn't know you wanted in. Cameron hesitated a bit, then softly said, stay a while longer. Auntie's cooking is really good. Seeing his nervousness, I boldly let him hold my hand and we walked into that beautiful villa together. 18. Young Cameron was thin and shy, even a little insecure because his family was often absent. But I was completely different, loud and rambunctious from childhood. Even if nobody really cared for me, after my parents died, I stayed with my grandfather, but with so many grandchildren, he didn't really notice whether I was there or not. I was basically left to raise myself until I differentiated at 16. Only then did my grandfather finally pay attention. He took me to the hospital, found out I was a low-grade alpha, and gave up on me, sending me off to boarding school without another word. I comforted myself that at least I was free, not forced to return to that home where I was constantly looked down on. But right then, Cameron suddenly cut off contact with me. 3 years later, by chance, we got into the same university, and I learned from friends that he had already differentiated into a superior alpha. Time took away all my anger, so when I saw him at orientation, I wasn't mad at all. I really wanted to hug him, but after 3 years apart, how was he already taller than me? Is he still healthy? Still taking medicine year-round? Wasn't he planning to get into university before? Why was he studying here now? Across the crowded sea of people, it felt like he sensed something. He glanced up at me, but nothing happened. No recognition, no questions, just like two strangers. 19. We were so in sync that neither of us disturbed the other, but I was the social butterfly on campus, knowing countless people. When we got to the private room, I found out the birthday girl's boyfriend was Cameron's roommate. We sang "Happy Birthday," and the birthday girl ordered 2 more rounds of beer to play games. Groups of 6. Roll the dice. Whoever gets the same number drinks a double toast. The first round had 3 people all rolling 3s. They linked arms and drank amid the noise. After a few rounds, someone drunk suggested changing the punishment to kissing. I rolled a 6 and lost. Dizzy, I was pushed next to Cameron. Wasn't he in another group? When did he come over to us? Amid the teasing, he made the first move. His palm pressed the back of my head, his lips already on mine. So hot, so burning. Before I could react, he let go. I put a finger to my lips. The room was loud with singing, a bunch of drunks fighting over the mic. I grabbed him and whispered hoarsely, Cameron. No answer. I passed out. 20. When I woke up, I was held tightly in someone's arms, barely able to breathe. I thought about the university dream just now but didn't push Cameron away. Wake up. He moved under the blanket, his hands tightening around my waist. After 10 more minutes, Cameron, with messy hair, sat up. Good morning, wife. Goosebumps popped up all over me. Don't call me that. What else then? He circled me with his hand. Husband. I slapped him hard. Finally, he settled down and said he wanted to take me for a checkup. The nanny smiled, showing me the nutritious meals she'd learned to make overnight. I gave her a thumbs up looking at the dishes. If she hadn't found the test report in the trash while cleaning, I'd already be on the operating table. So why was she digging through the trash? At the hospital, the same doctor arranged an ultrasound and asked what was going on. We made up. So I'm not having the abortion. Both of you are handsome, such good genes. Since we had a few tests scheduled, Cameron and I waited in the doctor's office together. Suddenly, the doctor hurried in. Follow me. Family, please wait here. His serious expression made me think the baby had some problem. I hurried after him. More tests and scans later, he came back with a stack of reports. Frowning, Cameron looked like he was facing a war. Doctor, what's wrong? I held his hand to calm him. The room was eerily silent. 21. Bennett, you are not pregnant. The previous tests showed a false pregnancy reaction typical in alphas, not a real pregnancy. I was stunned. False pregnancy reaction. Cameron, who had always taken physiology seriously, was calmer than me and quickly asked, does this affect his health? I stared at them, feeling dizzy. So, I wasn't pregnant. Then what have I been doing all these days? A hand gently wrapped around me. I didn't come back to myself until we left the hospital. Not feeling well. Cameron checked my forehead while fastening my seatbelt. I shook my head. Silent. He leaned on the steering wheel and smiled at me, his eyes bright, just like when he was a boy. My heart softened instantly. It's a false pregnancy, no baby. I finally sighed, looking downcast. Cameron, there is a baby, you're my baby. Bro, can you not be so cheesy? I broke the mood with that line. He laughed, then kissed me. Honestly, I'm grateful for this accident. Without it, we might have had an arranged marriage forever. I was confused. Didn't we agree to divorce after a few years? Forever? Cameron stiffened, then grabbed my cheek hard and kissed me twice. We already have the marriage certificate. You still want to run? Seeing me at a loss, he was happy and started the car. Let's go home. I have something for you. 22. That's what you're talking about? Your diary. I'd thought it was some huge 7-carat diamond ring or something. I looked at the crooked word Cameron on the cover and bluntly said, can't even tell what this says. Cameron stared at me for 2 seconds, like he had no comeback. Then I'll just read it to you. I dodged his hand and flipped open to the first page by myself. 0766. I met Bennett. He said he'll come find me every day. Happy. 09/9/17. Dad and Grandpa came back to keep me company, but Bennett said his parents passed away long ago, so I told them to leave at night, and then I went to play with Bennett. 12/3/4. Bennett has lots of friends, but I don't know how to play ball, so I can't play with him. Can't he just play with me? Hate him. 15/11/3. The doctor said I'm about to differentiate. Bennett said no matter what gender we differentiate into, we'll always be best friends. Just friends. Ha. 16/3/14. I differentiated. I'm an alpha, and Bennett is too. What do I do? Biology class says alpha pheromones repel each other. He'll hate my scent. I don't want to see him anymore. 17/5/16. Why are you hugging and holding others, Bennett? I hate you. If you're happy with others, I won't come see you again. 19/3/24. Bennett is also at this university. Look at me, don't avoid me. 19/1/4. At my roommate's girlfriend's birthday, he was there too. I stole someone's dice and kissed him. He seemed mad. Guess I still have to listen to my roommate. Love means respect and compromise. I was too impulsive. Can his friends still celebrate more birthdays? I'm free. 22/7/30. Something happened. Bennett's so-called grandfather actually planned to send him away for investment. That old bastard. Just wait, I'll find someone to deal with you. 22/9/5. Got married without telling Dad or Grandpa. Yes, the groom is the person I've always liked. Happy, thanks to Bennett's grandfather's help, but you better watch out. 23. After reading, my feelings were complicated. This wasn't a diary at all. It was clearly a creepy record of daily obsessions. Could any of that stuff I skimmed be posted online? That'd be a 10-year ban for sure. Go away. I love you too. Cameron froze halfway, reaching into his pocket. Aren't you supposed to be tearfully confessing your love to me right now? Don't tell me that was another trick from your college roommate. His eyes darted nervously. I sighed, cupping his cheeks. Why would you think I hate you just because you differentiated into an alpha? When I differentiated, the doctor said my pheromones are highly aggressive, he said softly, eyes already misting with tears, and later you said my scent was overwhelming. I wiped his tears, thinking, well, it really was overwhelming, but if he hadn't cut off contact with me back then, even if it was fire and brimstone, I would have called it perfume. All things considered, it's still Cameron's fault. I was wrong, please forgive me. He finally pulled the box out from his clothes and dropped to one knee before me. I'll make it up with a proposal. Seeing no reaction from me, he got a little flustered and stumbled over his words. Time. I'll make up for that too. I'll stay with you forever. Love too. I'll make up for. I interrupted. No need. He looked at me with puppy eyes. I took out the ring, slipped it on his finger first, then on my own. I know you never stopped loving me,